Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and welcome to another episode of the Daily Red for Anfield Index. It is Sunday, the 17th of August. The sun is shining where I am, and it does feel like it's going to be a big week all round for the Reds, doesn't it? Because it seems massive gap in a way. Now the season's just started. I'm sure you'll be watching the games today. You probably watched them yesterday as well. But from Liverpool's game on Friday night to having to wait all the way till Monday, it does seem quite a way, doesn't it? But could do them good. Plenty of time on the training pitch, plenty of time to work on certain things as well. I'm your host, Dave Davis, coming to you, like I said, from it is absolutely glorious here in Edinburgh. Touch wood, it continues. It's barbecue weather. It is the lot at the moment. But we're here to talk and look at all things Reds, aren't we? So what is going on today? What was even said yesterday? It's important to talk about. What are the latest headlines? We start here with, we should always have a quick look. And I know it's only a game in before anyone starts, but it's on the screen there. Liverpool, Spurs, Sunderland and City, the four teams to have won so far in the Premier League. Some interesting ones yesterday, weren't there? West Ham look like they're going to struggle. Wolves may be the same, although I've got a lot of positive things to say about Wolves, which I'll talk about shortly. Spurs, they're Spursy. Yeah, you know what will happen. But interesting, some really interesting results. And even, I'm sure today, we've all got an eye on the games. Arsenal are up, aren't they? United away. No, I want two teams to just cease to exist. Maybe a draw's the best one in that one. Who knows? But we're here to talk about the Reds, who, after the 4-2 victory over Palace on Friday, have got plenty to work on and think about. But I do want to go back to yesterday, and there were some incredible moments. Did anyone see that Wolves tifo? On the screen there it was, and Diogo Jota's widow was at the game, supported by Ruben Neves and family. That was absolutely amazing to see the Wolves reaction. And he was 18, wasn't he, for them? So they had on the pitch, they had the 18 minutes there, the round of applause. So I've got to be honest, I've got a bit of a soft spot now for Wolves. I actually have for that. I thought they did incredible scenes there. So yeah, that was nice to see. And he doesn't play for us anymore. He is now at Bayern Munich. But Luis Diaz scored. I think it was actually the winner, wasn't it, for Bayern Munich in the Super Cup game against Stuttgart. But what we love to see, incredible there, wasn't it, when he did the little Diogo Jota gamepad celebration. So, yeah, some nice and emotional bits there. And this was out late yesterday from the skipper interview we did for the official website there, as is the strapline. We managed to get the win on an emotional night for all of us. And it is well worth a read. I'll just give you bits of this. He was asked, it was dramatic, but we start with the win. So we start with the win, a lot of good things, good moments with and without the ball. Unfortunately, we conceded 2 goals in the break where we should have done better overall. I don't think there's any doubt about that at all. And Adam put it in the chat panel there with things to work on. Our defence wasn't the best the other night, as Virgil's saying as well. But we've 8 days now before the next game to work on things. And hopefully we have Guehi by then. We'll be talking about Guehi. We know we'll have Ryan Gravenberch back as well. Nice little bit where he gives a bit of praise to Chiesa, who we'll also be talking about on this show. And this little bit in the end, I think, because he was asked, you're all in that emotion, the minute silence, the reaction at the end. I don't think we should underestimate this for what the skipper says. He said, I think nobody should underestimate what's going on. We are there for each other with the players, with the staff, but we need all our fans as well in order to get us through everything. You saw it with Mo Salah at the end, didn't you, as well? This team are still hurting big time, as is completely understandable. They do need us now more than ever, but we'll never really be able to sort of put a quota tangible on just how much it's affecting them. It doesn't work that the same way for everyone with grief. So, yeah, even the skipper talked about it yesterday. emotional time still, isn't it, for the team. Speaking of the skipper, this, if you do get the 10 or 11 minutes or so, if you've not seen it already, he did an interview with Men in Blazers. You'll all know Men in Blazers are, do it with various players, managers, etc. And the one with Arne Slot a week ago was absolutely brilliant. This one was great as well. There's a little bit at the end where they talk about Diogo Jota and how they weren't going to do any segments on that. But look at the sections here. Winning the league, the challenge of going back-to-back, Wirtz, Frimpong, and the new signings came into play. The new Liverpool backline. You may have some thoughts on some of those. That's being well talked about, isn't it, as well? Young Rio and Gamoa was a subject, and how Virgil wants to be remembered. So it's one of those points here, I've got to be honest, on the screen. It's such a shame I can't play it for you, but naturally, if we do, we get the copyright thing and shut down, which even though it would be free advertising realistically for Men in Blazers, because it's not like I'm trying to claim an exclusive for Anfield Index. Everyone can see the branding, everyone knows who they are, but I just can't, unfortunately, I'm afraid. What I can do is just give you a bit of a quote from it where he was asked about signings and say, obviously, it's very good for the club. The players we have signed, I think, are great additions. Hopefully, they can show that throughout the whole season and in years to come. I fully trust the club in order to do the right things. And there's a brilliant bit where he was asked by the interviewer about, who was there, and everyone knew what he was trying to do. The best striker or the best attacker we could come up against. And he paused, he smiled, Virgil. They asked him, who do you want me to say? We all know who the presenter wanted him to say. Of course we do. It's all interlinked. But, it sort of sidestepped that one nicely. But let's not forget, the skipper was talking the other day about how we do need signings through the door after the Community Shield, wasn't it? So we all know what's happening. We all know what we think will come. The dancing may stop this week. And that's important to say, because I have a bit of a look at the AI website. It does feel such a pivotal week because there's 14 days left now of the transfer window to complete what Liverpool need to complete, and they do need to complete business. There is 8 days before this game, the Isak derby at St James's Park. Business needs to happen both ways. It does feel quite pivotal. There's still some games to complete where players are involved, players are affected, shall we say, but it's all in the mix, isn't it? Maybe even some players not going, which we'll talk about. So, scan of the headlines. Funnily enough, Alexander Isak and Eddie Howe are on the screen. We'll be talking about them. Ibu Konate, Marc Guehi is on the screen. We're going to have a bit of a talk about what's being said there in the defensive situation. And the man with the banger, the man with the late goal, Fede, is on the screen as well. We've got to talk about that article. So this first one here, Fabrizio Romano, Marc Guehi wants to go to Liverpool. So this came out late yesterday. So quite a bit that Fabrizio talked about in this one. So what does he say, or what did he say? And again, this is on YouTube where I could have played it for you, but we get shut down, such is the nature of these things. He said, on Liverpool, I insist they are still working for Marc Guehi. There's still a conversation ongoing with Palace, still conversation ongoing with the player side, because the agreement with the player is okay from what I'm hearing. Still waiting to see what happens club to club, but Marc Guehi wants to go to Liverpool. If it's not now, it's going to be in the future. Obviously, what everyone's alluding to, the whole, if it's not now, it'll be a free at the end of the season. It is interesting, though, because the patch journalist side of reporting is being quite clear that Liverpool do not have an agreement with Palace. They're trying to be respectful, and which doesn't quite tally up a little bit there, does it? In all honesty, so we'll see which one he is. Nothing appears too imminent, though. That's important to say, and the reason I say that is there's that tweet from Fabrizio this morning that Eze starts today, and the same expected to happen for Marc Guehi. The plan is clear by Oliver Glasner. Talks also continue for Guehi to Liverpool, but also not done. Again, it does feel like could be wrong on this, and touch wood, time will tell. Chelsea have got Palace in the opening game of the season, so they've got to get that out of the way. And then Palace have got a lot to sort, haven't they? Because as a Spurs, Arsenal, whichever it is, more importantly for us, Marc Guehi, you think Liverpool will want to advance that this week as well, get him in the squad along with Giovanni Leone. A lot of people want Guehi soon. Before that Newcastle game, so would I as well. This one, yeah. If Marc Guehi comes, there is a few question marks then about the man on screen, Ibou Konate, who, yeah, had a bit of a stinker, didn't he, on Friday? I mean, that one where like he was I almost describe it as where he just kept running backwards. It was like where you've got something on Sky Plus and rewinding it and it keeps going backwards and you're shouting at your mate like, press play or just press forward, get them going. But someone forgot to hit the button for Ibou, didn't they, the other night? And yeah. But this story that's out there, Liverpool are pushing for the contract decision amid interest from Real Madrid. As it says here, they face a defining few weeks in their negotiations with Ibou Konate, with his long-term future hanging in the balance. Now, I've got to be honest on this because I think it was Ben Jacobs, if I'm right, put out that Liverpool are still talking to Ibou Konate and his agents. The latest we've heard at Anfield Index is not really too positive in that sense as well. So you do wonder how long Liverpool, are they going to go really late like they tried with Trent? Is it going to go all the way through the season? Maybe they don't want that distraction after previous musings. But if that is the case, and it isn't positive, I'd like Marc Guehi through the door as quickly as possible. And in fact, it's World Cup year for both, isn't it? They'll both have their thoughts. But if Guehi wants to go to Liverpool and if Ibou Konate doesn't want to stay at Liverpool, yeah, I think a switch around there will happen at some point. I know Adam's saying there, just sell Konate now. I'm not keen on that, to be honest. I would rather personally, and whether people disagree with this or not, keep him till the end of the season. Because then, yeah, how much in the back line do you want to change? That would mean there's only 2 out of the 5 from the title-winning team. And with all those different bits, all those changes, I just don't think it's a good idea to sell him. Puts pressure on Guehi straight away at the same time. Maybe pressure on Leone then with an injury that you wouldn't want as well. Barry saying there, Guehi and Isak, please. Konate, see you. So, yeah, I get people if he's not going to sign, want it. I disagree just because of the amount of change. But let's be honest, the one thing Mr. Edwards, Hughes, etc. don't seem too bothered about is change this summer. So we will see what develops there. Either way, Marc Guehi through the door this week. That is what everyone is consistent on. So that's the defensive situation. Now, the attacking side, it developed a little bit this way. Did anyone hear this at Villa Park yesterday after the game? Newcastle fans chanting against Alexander Isak with a rendition of "There's Only One Greedy Bastard." Now, for all the talk over this, I mean, God, Alan Shearer giving his thoughts on it, just ignoring that Newcastle are doing exactly the same thing with Johan Visser. We're all kind of just ignoring that. But Alan Shearer is also quite funny because there was a bit on the Match of the Day video where he was criticising our defending for the goal and said about Kirkes and that, what he did wrong, ignoring that Kirkes wasn't actually on the pitch anymore. I just thought that was absolutely hilarious. If anyone's seen that at all, it was just funny more than anything. But this is just part of football, I think, now, whether people like it or not. And we could all have opinions on it. I don't like that players go on strike. But at the end of the day, like you saw it with Gyökeres, you're seeing it with Visser. It is just a part of football. It is what it is. All these moralisings that go on. Football is a ruthless business. It's as simple as that. More than anything, I think this helps us. And also, the Isak saga can't, and it is a saga now, I don't care what anyone says, it can't just continue forever. And it was telling yesterday, Eddie Howe after the game saying, I hope the Isak story is resolved quickly because it's news around us all the time. Players have managed to shut that out and perform. We have to continue to do that. We have to cope with the narrative against us. And I mean, that last bit's nonsense, but I don't mind him doing that. He's trying to unite the club in using the situation. You know, what else would you expect him to do? But it's the bit where he also said, and it's not in this quote, I've made my thoughts clear. We all know, I don't think there's any doubt now, Eddie Howe wants Alexander Isak gone and replacement or replacements through the door. Of course he does. And I saw this tweeted a little bit yesterday by Ben Jacobs. The United expect to resume talks for Vissa in the next 24 to 48 hours. Personal terms are not an issue. The whole thing really shouldn't be an issue, but it is because Eddie Howe and his nephew have really struggled to get deals done all summer. The key domino that fell yesterday, did anyone see? Atara is now a Brentford player, isn't he? So that transfer has been completed. So Brentford have got their player through the door. So you're hoping for this week, get Vissa in. And then, what have you got? Jacob Ramsey. If Vissa's through the door. Now, of course, I get people going to jump on this and say, well, they're not going to do the deal before the Liverpool game. I think they could. And to be honest, it's not like Isak's fit. But I do wonder at which point have Liverpool put a deadline on this? Because I know a few saying deadline day, and I get that because he's not going to play before the international break because of his fitness. And Jan asks a fair question there. What is Liverpool's fallback if Isak doesn't happen? Now, that's almost the question I'm asking. Let me be crystal clear. I do think it will happen. I think we're just playing out the whole games and the charades and Newcastle's nonsense. But will Liverpool put a cut-off on it? It is a fair musing, a fair question to ask. And also, as a few are asking on this, what other players could come through the door? Because Guehi, Isak, we all want another one from there, don't we? And yeah, look at people that are commenting on this one in the chat panel. In terms of outgoings, there's still things to do. Ben Doak, Paul Gorse tweeted it this morning about an hour ago or so. Ben Doak is putting the finishing touches on his 25 million move from Liverpool to Bournemouth. That means the sale of the Scotland winger will take the Reds' outgoings to around 215 million quid. And if you look at the recent outgoings, the Luis Diaz amount, the Darwin Núñez amount, Ben Doak set to be stacked up. From when people talked about spending crazily, might just have changed a little. Obviously, we know what's going to happen, don't get me wrong, but we are stocking the coffers again for the Isak move, for the Guehi move, for, hoping as we are, another winger. And it's interesting, LAPS there mentions get Fofana in as well as Isak. Well, Fofana was asked about a move, wasn't he? And said, nothing's imminent. I'm enjoying playing at Lyon. He was asked after their game yesterday. But if an opportunity arises, you never know. Bless him, Malik Fofana just wants a move to Liverpool, doesn't he? Probably would take a move to the Premier League. I actually enjoy the fact that he's turned down Everton already as well. So that goes into the mix for me as something that I really like. People asking us Fofana, he might have got into that game, but he played yesterday and he was talking about it after the game. So yeah, Ben Doak set to depart. Other two to keep an eye on this week. Kostas Tsimikas wasn't in the squad, and in fact, it's worth mentioning that we're saying at Anfield Index, we are hearing that he's got a few options to choose. Tsimikas will pick this week, and then likely, the club does the deal next week as well. A few in the Premier League, a few options, but sad in a way, but I think everyone expects Kostas Tsimikas to depart Anfield next week. Harvey Elliott, Red Bull, they've done the groundwork. He seems keen on that. Even suggestions, though, that if Eze moves, to Tottenham, that closes that. But if not, they could make a move there. So it is just one to keep an eye on at the same time. One that we might have done a 360 on, though, is Federico Chiesa. I mean, this was out late last night, a quote from him about dedicating his goal to Arne Slot. He's always been great with me since day one. I'm not sure that's the case because I'm not actually, if you look at how much he didn't play this season or last season, when he was fit, but hey ho, he said it. And maybe it just feels like a bit of an olive branch for me between the two. And even if, he also said this, even if I only get 10 or 15 minutes, I must show I'm ready and able to do my best in order to play with this team. Look at the handsome puss on that boy, eh? Look at how happy he was. We were all buzzing for him, weren't we? At the same time as well. I was in that cop. It was shaking on Friday night, literally, when that went in. And then, again, I can't play it for you, which I'd love to, but Fabrizio Romano, also on one of his videos, said this. So let me give you the quotes. Things around Chiesa have changed. His message is clear. He wants to stay at Liverpool. Between June and July, he was ready to leave. There was talk of him leaving, but he was never close. From the day, though, that Luis Diaz left, Chiesa decided to take on his personal challenge. Liverpool's focus shifted towards a centre-forward, not a winger, and at that moment, he resolved to stay and prove himself. We know that in football, a big offer can change everything, but right now, Chiesa is determined to stay at Liverpool. I mean, Chiesa's saying it, Fabrizio Romano is well in with Fali Ramande as well. His age, that comes into the mix at the same time as well. I think it almost gives them an out there because if a big offer comes in, because it's not all summer, has it? There's not been all this expectation that, Atalanta have been linked, all the Italian teams and, the back of Gattuso saying that he needs to play regularly. It was all just expected to happen. That was all the information. That was all the suggestions. But now you're just wondering, hold on. Is Chiesa an option for a super sub, shall we say? In that last Klopp season almost when Harvey Elliott will come on and get an assist, get a goal, that, break glass in case of emergency, like on Friday night. Could that be Chiesa? Could the fans just go insane at Anfield when you see him coming on for the last 20 minutes when we need a goal and the banger starts up? Could he just be part of that chaotic finishes? Happy as well with cup minutes and things like that. He may just be, It's interesting. John Myers says there, a happy player means he will always do his best for the team. I don't think there's any doubt about that. And when we are pressing them in, we need a goal, maybe he's perfect for that. Now, obviously, people will talk about options, but just to repeat a little bit what we said yesterday at Anfield Index, Isak obviously wanted, but hearing that Liverpool are looking at other attacking options, a Premier League winger, especially as well, has been mentioned, through various parts. So I think it's just important to remember that as it stands, it could be the plan. But if Liverpool were to get Isak and another through the door, maybe that just changes. It's a real mixed one, isn't it? I don't think it is that popular right now for to see Chiesa goes. But maybe, we said this with many players, but the business we've done this summer, it all goes into the mix, doesn't it? 1,000,001 things to consider there. In terms of AI content, we say there is plenty there. There's plenty coming up at the same time as well. So I know Monday we'll have news round for you first thing. Later on tonight, I know me and Bart's are doing a positional play where we'll have a little bit of a look to what happened there as well, and key things you think you can steer into a little bit from the opening few games. Media Matters will be on Monday as well. All your normal shows are back because it is a normal routine. And it's funny, isn't it? The most love in the chat panel there. Nigel even saying Chiesa. And I like the way you phrase this, Nigel, our impact sub right now. As it stands, right now, we love that idea. But Nigel and everyone else, be honest with yourself. If you get news of a Fofana, for instance, would you sacrifice Chiesa or something like that? I don't know. I don't think people are being fully honest on this. I could be wrong. It could all just be irrelevant. We'll have to see who does and doesn't come through the door. It just feels for the club a big week, doesn't it? Yeah. But just for those that have missed it, because if you joined in late and some asking me about this stuff we've already mentioned, bit of a recap for you there, ladies and gents. Some incredible scenes at Wolves there. The Diogo Jota tifo. Yeah, the 18th minute applause because he was 18 at Wolves. Incredible. Luis Diaz as well. A nice little touch doing that celebration there after his goal. Virgil van Dijk talking as well about the emotional night. Well worth a read if you do get 2 minutes at all on there on the website, and saying the emotions, which we saw Mo Salah, we saw on a slot talk about it afterwards. Maybe, just maybe, not look into it too much Friday night and think, was it more for the team, a bit of catharsis more than anything? Yeah, they maybe needed that, and they needed us to give them that as well on Friday evening. Men in Blazers, if you get the time, well worth a watch with Virgil talking challenges, the new signings, the defensive setup, young Rio and Gamoa, and how he cements his legend. Well worth a watch for 10, 11 minutes because he does talk there about new signings and additions. If you are, you read your content and you prefer it that way, plenty about Marc Guehi, Ibou Konate, Chiesa, Isak, that situation, and even Eddie Howe. Because according to Fabrizio Romano and others, Marc Guehi still wants to go to Liverpool. He's got no doubt about that. However, we're expecting to see him in action in a few hours, actually. I'm looking at the time because John there asking me about, is there any news on Guehi? So that's why it's nice to recap for John and everyone else that Guehi is expected to start today for Palace away at Chelsea, but Liverpool are still trying to get that deal done. And important to mention that obviously Liverpool's still trying to push Ibou Konate over that contract. But I'd say our latest info, as I mentioned then, at Anfield Index is, I would love to say brilliant, not sounding exceptionally hopeful. If you missed it, want to hear what Newcastle fans think fully about Alexander Isak right now? Appreciate that. That'll just help him move even closer to us. I think we all know that relationship's dead. But with it being such a big week, a week or so before the Alexander Isak derby, Eddie Howe said, didn't he? He wants it resolved quickly because it's news all around us. And I mean, if anyone watched their game, they did everything but score. Villa had 10 men. Anthony Gordon missed about 80,000 chances, give or take. 17 games without a goal. They need firepower through the door. And that Brentford has signed with Tara, as we mentioned, or Tara, sorry, as mentioned, Visser, they should get that wrapped up. Surely, for Christ's sake, bring one attacker through the door at least. But we'll see. But that feels pivotal. It does feel early next week, maybe even later tonight, because Paul Gore's tweeted about it. It's the finishing touches. So Ben Doak expected to go. As we also mentioned, if you missed it, Kostas Tsimikas will probably hear something early in the week. Maybe a little later for Harvey Elliott. It'll probably depend if Eze does move to Spurs. If he does, it is Red Bull, you feel. If it's not, just as we've said before, keep an eye on Harvey Elliott to Spurs if they don't bring in Eze for whatever reason. This man, maybe, just maybe, as he said, He's ready to show and fight for the team. As we mentioned there, Fabrizio Romano talking about it at the same time. Yeah, maybe. And I'm saying maybe because if another winger joins, I think it could change the plan possibly. But as it stands, maybe Federico Chiesa could be our super sub. We'll have to wait on that. As we also said, 1,000,001 things coming up on Anfield Index this week. Media Matters, News Round, all your biggest shows, all gearing up for Newcastle in 8 days' time. Who will be in the squad by then? Who will be out the squad by then? Plenty to guess on, plenty to ponder, isn't there? But there you go. Other things just to call out today, because it might be a good sunny day where you are. You might be planning on what am I doing? You've got game choice. You've got Brentford versus someone. But it's Palace, Chelsea at the same time as well. And Arsenal United later on, the Super Sunday, where we want everyone to lose. But probably, if we're honest, anything but an Arsenal win. We'll see. Anyway, Liverpool win. We can all enjoy our weekends. We can all see what next week brings. And I think, I might be wrong, but I think, touch wood, you'll be seeing development early doors. On Sunday, the 18th of August, hoping you enjoy the rest of your weekend. That was another Daily Red for Anfield Index.